Steven Universe gave us an episode about mindfulness that actually understood what happens when you try to breathe your way through a breakdown. Mindful education doesn't dismiss meditation or self-awareness. It shows what happens when those tools are used too early, before you've let yourself admit what you're carrying. Connie hurt a kid at school. She didn't mean to. She reacted on instinct, and a boy named Jeff got caught in the reflex. When she and Steven fuse into Stevonnie during training, the memory appears as a butterfly, then a swarm, then a vision they can't shake. The fusion destabilizes. They split apart midair. Fusion needs both people present in the same emotional truth, not just the same headspace. Garnet steps in to teach them balance. She means well. Her advice is technically correct. To find balance, you must understand your feelings. To understand your feelings, you must see them clearly without running from them. She guides them into meditation, into their mental space, where emotions take shape and can be acknowledged, observed, let go. And it works for Connie. The next day, she's lighter. She talked to Jeff. She apologized. She faced the things she did, and the guilt dissolved. She repaired what she broke. That matters. Steven tells Connie earlier in the episode that when you hurt someone by accident, you just try not to think about it. He says it like advice. He says it like someone who's been practicing that skill for a while. He says it like someone who believes his feelings are too big, too destructive, too much for the people around him to handle. And because Steven's gotten so good at looking calm, even Garnet can't see how much he's hiding. She cares, and she's trying, and she still can't reach him. The second time they fuse, Steven's the one who can't hold it together. Bismuth, Jasper, Eyeball. 3 people he couldn't save. 3 people who rejected his help, who forced his hand, who made him act against everything he believes in just to survive. The butterflies return, but this time they form the shape of Rose Quartz, stern and disappointed, watching him fail. Butterflies are supposed to mean transformation, beauty, growth, but when you force the metamorphosis before the grief is done, they become something else. They swarm, they chase, they turn predatory. Stevonnie falls. They unfuse in freefall. Connie begs Steven to fuse again so they can float down safely, but he can't hear her. He's drowning in it. And the breathing techniques don't help. The meditation doesn't help. The calm doesn't help because the calm was never meant to replace the grief. Steven isn't failing at mindfulness. He's using it as a shield. He's trying to protect everyone from the disaster he thinks he is. Connie doesn't tell him to meditate. She tells him he has to feel bad about what he did so he can move on. She gives him permission to hurt, and only after he stops trying to manage the pain and actually lets himself feel it do they fuse again. Only then does Stevonnie stabilize. Only then do they land safely. Here's the difference. Connie could apologize. She could go to Jeff and fix what broke. Steven can't undo what happened with Bismuth. He can't change what's happened or erase the guilt he feels. His harm doesn't have a repair. His guilt doesn't have an exit. That's why the same technique worked for her and collapsed under him. Mindfulness culture loves the idea of observing your thoughts without judgment, of letting them pass like clouds. And that works when the thought is fleeting, when it's irrational, when it's not connected to something real you did or something real that was done to you. But Steven wasn't spiraling over an intrusive thought. He was carrying actual grief, actual moral injury, actual unresolved trauma. And when mindfulness is used to skip over that, when it becomes a way to stay calm instead of a way to stay present, it stops being healing and starts being suppression. Research on mindfulness and trauma shows it works when paired with acceptance and emotional validation. It helps people process what happened, not pretend it didn't. When mindfulness is treated as a productivity tool or a way to keep functioning without addressing underlying pain, it can reinforce avoidance instead of healing. Steven wasn't failing at mindfulness. He was using it at the wrong time for the wrong reason. Garnet's method isn't flawed. The sequence is. You can't meditate your way into acceptance if you haven't let yourself acknowledge what you're accepting. The calm has to come after the honesty, not instead of it. Connie didn't teach Steven a new technique. She gave him permission to stop performing wellness. She told him it was okay to think about it. She told him he had to feel bad. Not forever, not as self-punishment, but as acknowledgement, as the truth. Garnet's meditation worked once Connie had already apologized to Jeff. It worked because there was nothing left to suppress. Steven's didn't work until Connie reminded him that feeling bad isn't failure. It's just part of being a person who cares about the harm they've caused, even when they had no choice. Once he stopped trying to protect everyone from his emotions, once he let the weight exist, the technique could finally do what it was designed for. The episode ends with Stevonnie lying on the ground, staring up at the clouds, breathing. Not because they meditated the pain away, because they let it exist, because they stopped pretending it wasn't there. Mindfulness didn't save them. Honesty did. Mindfulness just gave them a place to land once they stopped running.